9. Ignition sequence start. 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is December 14th, and we're going to get started today with some news from Ledger, actually, not from Rocket Pool. So what we have here is a tweet from Banteg, who says Ledger library confirmed compromised and replaced with a drainer. Way out interacting with any dApps until things become clearer. So why am I covering this? Well, most of us use Ledgers or some kind of hardware wallets, and a lot of us use Ledgers. And this was really big news this morning, a few hours ago, and I thought it makes sense to cover it. So it even impacted the GMC, because a whole bunch of people in the GMC used Ledgers, and we're processing the payments for December, and we put everything on hold until this matter became clear. So that's why I'm covering it. Now, next, a few minutes later, we got an update from Matthew Lilly here saying any dApp which makes use of Ledger HQ Connect Kit is vulnerable. Don't use any dApps until further notice. This isn't a single isolated attack. It's a large-scale attack on multiple dApps. So what you can see here is this is a list of all the different dApps that got the attack. So we had things like, Scaffold ETH, Revoke Cash, Block Native. We had things like Matter Labs and Iron Wallet and Block Native again, and these are all Aztec protocol, and a whole lot of them, even things like Bankless and Cow protocol here. So all of these front ends had the library, the kit that was that had been replaced by a drainer. Look here, you can see like Bankless now and a whole bunch of others. So these were all the ones that had gotten attacked. And then this is what it looked like. So as you can see, it says the malicious Connect wallet pop-up is opening on top of the actual model like this. So if you look at the image, for those who are listening, what it shows is there's a screenshot, and you can see the regular pop-up, but on top of that, they put a new pop-up on top of it, and it's just the old pop-up is still there. So that's what it looks like, and then it kind of tries to scam you into signing with their basically malicious software. So here, Apurv says this scam pop-up might try to open your MetaMask to sign the transaction and drain your account. This affects dApps that have been integrated in Ledger's connector, so it affects you even if you don't directly use Ledger. Best stay away from all dApps and let this issue resolve. And then there was an update about what it's looking like, and then we're gonna go over here and kind of explain what actually happened. So here, now I don't know how to pronounce that, sorry. I said basically some front ends use a package called Ledger Connect. That package has been compromised in a supply chain attack. It doesn't matter if you use Ledger or not. If you connect and broadcast a transaction on a compromised website like Revoke Cash, you will be drained, whether you use MetaMask, Grabby, etc. If you use a website that isn't compromised like DeFi Llama, you're safe. If you don't know what you're doing, you better not sign any transactions at the moment. No need to revoke anything. This is not about approvals. So then there was some information about what happens next. So basically here we got to get an update from Ledger saying we've identified and removed a malicious version of the Ledger Connect kit. A genuine version is being pushed to replace the malicious file now. Do not interact with any dApps for the moment. We'll keep you informed as the situation evolves. And then they say that your Ledger device and Ledger Live were not compromised. And then here's more information. It says the malicious version of this file was replaced with genuine version at around 2:35 CET. The new genuine version should be propagated soon. We will provide a comprehensive report as soon as it's ready. In the meantime, we'd like to remind the community, blah, blah, blah. And it says, please be aware of ongoing phishing scams. We only have 2 genuine social media accounts, Ledger and Ledger Support. The rest are all fakes. Remember, never ever share your recovery feed, and anyone who asks for it is a criminal. So that was Ledger. That's the news they got out. And here where the story kind of summed up, here it says hacker hacks every single site in crypto. That's being hyperbolic, and saying hacker only gets $500,000 of US of assets. Hacker swaps the assets to USDT, and then the hacker had their account frozen by Tether. So bro just cooked nothing. So that's actually like a really funny end to the story. And these were all the different apps that were affected, and the person who got the $500,000 worth of assets. They just got their wallet frozen. Now, I don't know what Tether actually does with those frozen wallets. What they should do is freeze that wallet, lock it off from the Tether from being able to move on there, remint the Tether as if it's new, and then give it back to the people who had their assets stolen. That's what should happen. Otherwise, I guess Tether just gets to keep $500,000. So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but if someone does know, let me know, and I'll cover it because that's really interesting. Okay, let's get to some rocket pool news. So one of the things that has happened recently is we had fallen outside a wall of liquidity that was available on Uniswap version 3, and we were in a very low liquidity zone. However, yesterday evening Owledge used the bot to show where the liquidity walls are, and he says, oh, someone ponied up, and basically we got a new amount of liquidity that was added to the wall. So that is nice because the person not only added RPL sell liquidity, but also there was ETH buy liquidity added, so it supports a little bit on the downside, maybe about 10% down. So that was actually really nice, and we need that liquidity because you want people to have confidence in buying in and out of the market and not causing too much slippage. There was, kind of related to that, there was a discussion that happened here with Mountain B, who said, out of curiosity, has anyone in the team had an eye for the absence of liquidity? It says, impossible sell for me lately to chat staking with Rocket Pool, consistently get questions on RPL liquidity, and it's a hard pass. Issue is not so much price fluctuation as simple absence of liquidity for people I chat with. So then Invaze and Noshua and Mountain B had an interesting discussion that went on for quite a while, for nearly an hour this morning, about what it means to have liquidity and why we should have liquidity and who should pay for liquidity. And there were a few really interesting points that came up, and I can kind of go through the conversation as it happened. So here Mountain B says, not sure, but wondering if there's a problem that they acknowledge, not just for holders, but also in terms of adoption. And Noshua says, I haven't seen the team acknowledge it, but it's worth considering that, we have an IMC whose job it is to be incentives management committee, and they recently had their charter increased to include providing liquidity for RPL. So that's something that should be coming very soon. But here, the discussion kind of started about why you should have liquidity, why you shouldn't have liquidity. Invis says, magically allow up only, but also deep sell liquidity is also pay for with RPL that will be sold. So potentially, the RPL will be sold into the liquidity on the sell side, and then the price will go down if the liquidity is available. But Noshua says, I'm getting tired of people obsessing about the short-term impact, completely ignoring the big picture. And then about what we need or what we don't need in terms of liquidity. And then Mountain B says, the way I can mute no, sorry, that was not what I wanted to cover. But what happened was there was here, like Mountain B was saying, for one, currently I experience negative network effect, not even neutral. People staking with Rocket Pool get itchy for not being liquid and question their choice for the protocol, in addition to not being able to actively recommend it to others. And then that kind of discussion kind of went on for a while, but there were some really interesting points that came up. Like here, Brent had an idea of providing liquidity tokens instead of straight RPL collateral, and Invis kind of countered with that the way that I would, by saying that basically what happens then is you'll get the impermanence loss of RPL or ETH, and I wouldn't want to stake while I was being forced to put into liquidity position, because I wouldn't want to take on that impermanence loss. And then there was here Noshua says the IMC has funds already, and the IMC is using those funds to improve RPL liquidity, takes nothing away from improving the product. Basically, why not both? So there was a lot of this discussion, went back and forth. Ishka here had some really good points. He said RPL's liquidity is low, but also a little overblown. So he says 100th ETH worth at the moment is 1.15 slippage. Other top protocols, so here Lido have 0.29% slippage for 100 ETH, Aave 0.38%, Maker 2.2%, Uni 1.46%, Curve 1.76%, Balancer 1.6%, and Comp has 16.58% slippage for 100 ETH sale. So that just shows you that, although RPL doesn't have the best liquidity potentially. What we're seeing here is that it's much better than some of the other big protocols. However, one thing to note is that this is after liquidity was added yesterday. Before liquidity added yesterday, I think that 100 ETH cell would have had a much bigger impact, like potentially 3 or 4%. But even now, you know, it's much more comparable with other leading DeFi protocols. So yeah, like the liquidity will come as the IMC starts putting that into it. So here, you know, famous allspice quotes from the IMC charter saying, as a lesser goal, the IMC may act to improve accessibility of RPL. Efforts for this goal should not exceed 10% of resources. Looking at current budget, about 3% are used for RPL liquidity. And then Valdorf got involved as well, talking about how, you know, we move slowly. Noshua and Valdorf are both members of the IMC, talking about how the IMC sadly moves a little bit slowly, and that you know, this is something that will be added soon, hopefully. So I guess this is a really interesting discussion, because having liquidity is definitely useful. But Invis was saying, like, he says, what good is having 250K out of my 3 million USD being turned into RPL and getting paid 50,000 worth in RPL if I don't want RPL? So that is, again, you know, related to some of those positions where you get impermanence loss, or you end up with token that is getting lower in value compared to the one that's increasing in value, which is the one that you're losing. So those are some like issues there. So yeah, then Ishka here as well, you know, is on the IMC, said that you can take discussions about liquidity and RPL to the IMC public discussion page, and you're all welcome to do that too. Okay, next we're going to talk about the votes that are happening at the moment a little bit, and we're going to kind of talk about some things that are going around that. So here, you know, the 4 votes that are active have all reached quorum. They all are almost set to pass, and we talked about it in yesterday's episode, where, you know, there's a substantial abstain vote mostly from Noshua and Val, that's making up around 20% of the votes. Well, this, of course, you know, is not related to a new issue, but what happened is I wanted to cover this this information from Long for Wisdom, who had some ideas about how we can change the process to make it a little bit more streamlined. So this was actually from 3.5 weeks ago when it started, but it's interesting because I'll tell you why it's interesting. So he says, this topic have come up a few times lately, find it interesting, so I jumped into drafting something that I felt might work fairly well. Note that I've had no input into this. Feel free to comment, use it as inspiration, work from it directly, disregard it, etc. So it says, possible rocket pool release process. The goals are transparency, autonomy, and expansibility. It says, to achieve this, we adopt several independent processes. Number 1, technical design generation. This is a continuous process with no date cutoffs or consideration of the release schedule. And then we have the process output is a continuously updated living RPIP, including a list of possible inclusions for upcoming releases. And then number 2, release the content. This is a repeating process that takes place prior to implementation work, beginning for a given release. And it says release should be planned and communicated to have certain amount of capacity for inclusions based on the technical resources available to the release team. And then the output will this be a final informational RPIP summarizing plans for a given release, and then with some information. And then number 3, release ratification. This is a process that takes place once for each release at the point where the technical work and audits have reached a stage where no significant changes to the release content are expected. And the output of this is a set of agreed upon changes has been implemented in the Rocket Pool protocol. So that's a loose like I skipped a lot of stuff there, but you can go and read that in more detail. Then, you know, this is from a few weeks ago. So Val was started hole poking. So he says that we're really needing a full technical spec before, and then he says, you know, it will slow things down. He says that everything fits into a release terribly well, such as RPIP 30. He says release ratification is good concept. I think it's it should happen way before on-chain stuff. We're talking feature freeze, which is several months prior. And then Langas says this is pretty similar to what I have come up with. It was actually our intention to have a release RPIP. So then that's some, he's got an image of what that might look like. And he says the process is pretty generic, so it doesn't rely on any one team. The one thing it does doesn't really show is that many of the processes are iterative, and there are opportunities to improve the diagram. So then he had more feedback there as well. Then pros kind of came in and got some shared some ideas there as well. And then Long for Wisdom kind of responded to some of the different points that you can go and read. And what I really like is that, you know, this whole discussion is being taken seriously, and people are kind of working on it. So even though, you know, the statement made by Val and Noshua about abstaining from the votes, it's not that, like, especially with like Val's comments, as you can see over here, you know, Val's comments are that he says, support this voting abstain to get attention on the process. We should vote ahead of feature freeze audits, community team discussions ongoing. So I think, you know, this just shows that everyone's kind of working on this in good faith, and I think that we're going to get a really good result out of this. So I'm happy about that. Okay, next we have this new community call from Eth Staker, which was episode 37 that came out yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. So this was all about smoothing pools, and of course we all know that, you know, Rocket Pool was the first smoothing pool for staking, but now a whole bunch of other services have started covering smoothing pools as well. Well, what's really interesting was, like, here on screen right now, this is Lanxi, who's the COO of Dapnode, who've made a smoothing pool for Dapnode users, and he specifically called out Ken and Ken's talk at DevConnect in Bogota as influencing the way that Dapnode's smoothing pool is set up. The reason why I'm covering this as well is, of course, that you know, in this community call we had Ken and Cody from Smoothly, and Lanxi, of course, from Dapnode, and the Eth Staker gang, and it was hosted by Nick. So it's really cool that, you know, Ken was involved in this discussion, and you can go and give this a watch. It's just over an hour long to find out everything you've ever wanted to know about smoothing pools and more. Okay, next we have another post from Long for Wisdom here talking about coordinating a bounty system improvement. So this was an idea that they had of trying to make the bounty page more accessible, and how there was a lot of information that people just weren't seeing in order to go and do work for the bounties that were out there. So this was, you know, from over a month ago, just over a month ago, where they were talking about get these ideas together and kind of put the information. And Schifrin said, you know, this initiative shows great promise. Well, since then, today, Long for Wisdom has had an update on this, saying it's been a month since I posted this, so I wanted to give a brief update of progress and future plans. Work over the last month has been almost exclusively on functionality at the bounty portal. This is implementation over the last month, so pulling source files for bounties from a GAMC managed repository. It says they've set up filters, search and sort, and then there's activity and countdowns, bounty documentation, forum RSS integrations, which is experimental, and then there's also future work, which is styling, additional functionality, bounty processes and RPIPs, and then asking for people who want to contribute, saying feedback on any of the above would be great. Input into changes, requirements for the bounty process would be great. It would be especially useful to hear from those that have interacted with bounties in the past. I think this is Harpocrates, Ramana, Waldorf, Patches, Noshua, and Non-Fungible Yoakum, going from the records on RPIP 29. You all know better than me, that all the non-meta things, blah, blah, blah. So that was a nice little update from Long for Wisdom, and then you can actually see the page as well and what it looks like. So I think this is still a work in progress. So like you see all the different you can see all the different bounties that are open or closed, how much you can get for those. So currently there are 12 open bounties. There's this RPIP review, which you can get $50 to $500 US, Rocket Pool scorecard, which will get you $2,000 to $15,000, verified reward specification $1,500, improve LST comparison dashboard 1,375, update official documentation 1,000, bounty writing 3, and then so on. And some of these are in dollars and some of them are in RPL, but that's kind of locked at a price, so you'll have to figure out what exactly that is at. And I think what will happen is this page will be integrated with the Rocket Pool website's page. So let's have a look. Rocketpool.net. Oh, it's not even actually one of my most used websites, so let me just do this. Yeah, if you go to rocketpool.net, which is of course, you know, the actual website, you can see that there is bounties here somewhere. Where are bounties? Okay, well, there's bounties here somewhere, and there's, let me see. Yeah, I don't know where the bounties are, but there's bounties on here somewhere. But it seems like the page that's on the let me see. Oh yeah, okay, that's fine. The page that's on the main website will be replaced most likely by this one from Long for Wisdom, and once we get it all working, then I think it'll be a really nice integration into the main site, and then we can all just kind of point people towards this dashboard to get people working. Okay, next we got news of a new Australian crypto exchange called GroveX. It says that they're introducing Rocket Pool's RPL token to their platform. So this trading will go live, I think it's live right now, and then withdrawals will also be live soon. So, it's nice that RPL is added to more exchanges. Of course, as always, please do your own research in interacting with any new centralized or decentralized product, and make sure that you're taking precautions when working with these exchanges. But I thought I would give that a boost because I guess the team now can go and use GroveX if they wanted, since they're other Australian members of the community. Okay, and finally we have some nice news about Ramana. So Halululo asked Ramana yesterday if there was any update on the dispute with Coinbase. So for those of you who don't remember, Ramana was trying to arb the CB ETH discount. So you would buy it in the secondary market, then take your CB ETH to Coinbase and swap it at peg for ETH, and then you take your ETH back to the secondary market, buy more CB ETH, and you could do that over and over again to kind of arb the discount. Well, in that process, Ramana's CB ETH, I guess, or ETH got locked by Coinbase, and they wouldn't give it back to him or give any answers about why it was locked. So here Halulu asked, any news on your Coinbase dispute, and Ramana said, yeah, they removed the limit yesterday. I think there was no explanation, but I am seeking recompense. So that's really nice news. And then Halulu says, so you managed to withdraw all of it? And he says, I haven't withdrawn it yet, I'm just waiting for cheaper gas, which is such a Ramana thing to do. He says, I took some of it out though. He says, this weekend or whenever gas is cheap, if conditions are right, I want to make some mini pools, which is really exciting. So yeah, I'm really happy that this, Ramana got a small win here after having a whole bunch of losses in a row. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. So thank you all. Yeah, that covers everything today. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.